We can do all the practicing in the world, we can prepare and prepare, but nothing prepares you for the moment when you hit record, or when you hit go on your life and everything. Artist Journal, February 2nd, 2023, broadcasting to the world from Berlin, Germany. My name is Adrian Pocobelli. I wish you a good morning. It is a slightly later morning for me. I was out last night, of course, at that show that I put on at Z Bar there in the Kino, which is German for cinema. Little German lesson for you this morning. And it was great. I mean, probably the takeaway from the response of the people that showed up to this loop that I had, which I had planned to make 30 minutes and turned into 2 hours and 6 minutes, typical, unfortunately. And I'm going to run through this episode. I am trying to shorten the episodes. And anyway, the response was really interesting and maybe what a lot of us might expect, but still interesting. And it was, I had no idea that this was happening. I had no idea. Like this is, and really impressed. And I didn't even show any of my own work there. Like, I mean, again, that's kind of what I would do once everything's done and I have a product. It's like, okay, what can I put in? I didn't show it in. I was just happy to export everything at 2:30 in the afternoon yesterday. And the export looked good. So anyways, everybody's very impressed with what's going on over here. So that was exciting. And people like who are not crypto people are like, how do I buy some of this? And you know, how much did you pay for that? Like just interested in the mechanics and like if I'm an artist. And so very, very bullish from a fundamental perspective because these were mostly friends and friends of friends, a few art people, but not that many. Art people that you'd see at the shows and everything. So really cool response. And genuinely curious. And it was great. People were just kind of excited to be excited about art, you know? So that was great. And anyway, so a big GM, as Louis Osborne is saying to us here, pretty cool work. You know what it reminds me of? Actually, the structure kind of looks like the Moving Cities a little bit, doesn't it? It just kind of hit me right now. And I really love his, Apple, I guess it's like iMac and everything here. So, and even, I mean, he makes it look easy. Again, the keyboard here, like, oh, I'll just make it a big G and a big M. That actually requires a lot of creativity that might go unrecognized. And also, another thing I'm noticing before we run through this episode is kind of like the interesting palette, isn't it? You see his red, yellow, is that like cyan, and is that magenta? Like it's kind of like a very basic, almost, not quite CMYK with this. Now, yeah, so anyways, let's continue here. So very cool work. This is a 1 of 1. Let's just see what it went for. We love the markets over here. Morning routine. Yeah, perfect. The perfect beginning for this show. Sold for $1,000. So $1,200. Was there a bidding war? LE Trader, Shoopy, NFT art cards, DeFi Boston, all high bids here on the way up. So really interesting, actually. Eli Trader held off, let the others battle it out, and then came in later, and then Shoopy did the knockout blow here. So LE Trader offered 800 at 40, and then Shoopy had enough wasting Shoopy's time and said, I'm bidding 1,000. Is anybody going to raise? So anyways, these auctions can really get out of control. Very cool. So congratulations to Louis Osborne. He put out a couple others too. I'm kind of waiting. We should check on his super rare. I'm not going to check today because as you can see, there's a ton to get through here. But I want to check on his super rare because I thought there was those first 2 pieces, maybe 3, and I don't remember anything else. And anyways, he is putting out work on Object for sure. This was also very interesting. So Follow the Leader, edition of 100, already selling for 18. And don't forget, Xcopy was buying some Louis Osborne, bought like 5 of them. So yeah, so there's a lot of, the market has heated right back up for Louis Osborne, deservedly. And so I want to show you this. So Follow the Leader, we have kind of a violet color here. I actually really love this. Like we can do this all day long in digital art, and Sometimes I do it in my own work, like remixes of the Screen Memories series and whatever. And I almost feel a little guilty. I'm like, but as an artist, it's sort of like Warhol. I want to be able to do, screen print this to, I want to do a million different versions of this. And I don't think anything should stop us. So I'm kind of 100% in favor of, I'm going to put out a different edition, same work with a different color, and that's the edition. I am a huge fan of that. I don't think there's anything wrong. And frankly, as a collector, it's like, well, maybe I like the blue one better, so I'm going to get the blue one. Maybe I want to collect them all. So I think that's super cool. So follow the leader, V2. I call them different mixes is how I go about it. But I mean, pick your poison here. I love that. So big thank you. A couple of notes here to Mardo, who is a he. Thank you, Mardo, for picking up flowers. These 8-Bit Nature series continue to move, and I thought they'd all be the same person. Varya picked up Wheatfield, so thank you, Varya. And finally, Vinnie Hager picked up A Fire on Secondary. So I'm a big, I was going to say I'm a big fan of my fire here. But what's great? When you print this out big, and it's tempting to get it, but we'll do this another time. I'm going to show you guys some of the actual printouts. People love them as gifts. And we were discussing this yesterday on the Twitter Spaces, how pixel art, we're going through the genres of digital art, another very interesting discussion there. And shout out to Kant, the art history graduate out of New Delhi. I mean, you got to love the internationalism of this scene. Like, I'm all over it. I absolutely love it. And we were talking about and Runetune was also mentioning this, the pixel art is almost where we all start as far as getting into digital art, or at least on the blockchain. Like, I liked digital art before. I was making it before I kind of had a clue as to what crypto really was, and even liked crypto. I was making digital art on my phone mostly. It's the pixel art is one of those first things that we kind of immediately gravitate towards. I was almost saying it's almost like Minecraft, right? And kids love Minecraft. Kids love pixel art. So when I print this out, I gave it to a friend of mine, my girlfriend's sister, actually, and she loved it. And then her son wanted one, so I gave him the Sunset. Anyway, pixel art really does have a universal appeal, seemingly. There's something about it. So anyways, I highly recommend you guys checking out that episode. And there is my mom, shout out to Mom, who is in the audience. She regularly shows up. Just a heads up in case you use a little correction here. At the end, Kant said mixed media, not multimedia. And this was one of the big takeaways of the conversation. Kant was saying, just like in the physical art world, like if we have acrylic and oil and maybe you put some sand on the painting, whatever, we call that mixed media. Maybe we have the same thing in digital. So I felt like we were breaking new ground there. So anyways, big shout out to everybody that came out, and to Kant and Sabato and Runetune and Moscow Jackson and everybody else that came. Big thanks. It's a ton of fun and it's super interesting. I'm going to start uploading to Spotify right away here. They've given me the tools, and now I have the time. I'm going to put out edits, and maybe even short-form quotes will start appearing, which are content in and of themselves. So it's worth your while to speak on those. But I'm ready to talk the whole time with Runetune there too. So whatever makes you comfortable. But anyways, a very nice time yesterday, so thank you, everybody. A couple of comments also I wanted to bring up, which I thought were kind of interesting, particularly because they're close together here. So Antonio, we were talking about curation, and I think I was mentioning how I kind of have, I don't want to say zero ambitions to curate, but I'm just, I never set out to be a curator, okay? But this is an interesting comment. I believe that being an unpretentious, accidentally curator or curation makes it even more interesting and honest. Keep up this great work. And I want to just bring up this other comment and then just a couple of words here. From Martin Baldwin, bring art to the masses, keep up the good work. These kind of seem related in an interesting sort of way. And yeah, so I just think this is interesting. these comments, and thank you for the comments, because it kind of speaks to something I've thought for a very long time, which is the contemporary art world has become kind of, over the decades, has perhaps become a little too over-sophisticated. And in that over-sophistication, the masses, to speak with very general terms, have been left behind a little bit. So it is quite interesting to think about that, and almost relating back to pixel art, with, I would argue, a lot of NFT art, we are seeing a resurgence of just the popular taste in stuff, and that has pluses and minuses. But what I find is, as we're going to see here, and as we were talking about the Duchamp Moment, which was a bit of a hit there with people like that term, this isn't an unsophisticated scene, okay? Like, we see it in the works, in the influences, in the quoting. And if people are quoting, I mean, frankly, if Manet is quoting, the river god statue, and, Teresa Rodinx is quoting Manet, maybe accidentally or not, in a sense, we have to say, well, what's the difference? Well, maybe the execution. Okay, Manet, maybe had a certain execution, and Teresa Rodinx has another, and maybe we have things to say about that. But as I say, like, nobody can take that away from you. You're having a conversation with the tradition. It's a conversation with the tradition, and everything kind of begins and ends there. Anyway, moving on. Just another quick comment here that I thought was really interesting from Lisa Fogarty. This came up in a thread where I was mentioned by Skomra, who picked up actually the RJ work. We're going to look at that in a second. I thought this was an interesting comment. I lightly agree with it, but I'll read it to you from Lisa. I find Object to be the underground club in many ways, and ETH in general is a bit of the top of the pops. Now, I think there's something to be said for it. I kind of lightly agree in the sense, I thought Cosimo actually put it quite well in his Medici Minutes that he put out on the weekend, which we looked at, which is, again, if your masterpiece that you make, if you make your best work, you're probably going to want to put it on super rare. Whereas if you're just doing some experimentation or doing some sketching or something that's maybe faster or whatever the case is, maybe that you put on Object. So as he put it, 2 chains, I think, is where this is going. I think this is kind of how it was previously seen, but I think with all the cross-chain, like a lot of Tez artists actually moved over to Ethereum, and not exclusively, they've just added Ethereum to their basket of, chains that they work on, being multi-chain. And so I think this is actually starting to disappear somewhat, and it's more of a, again, you put your kind of big oil painting, like say RJ is doing here, maybe you put that on ETH because maybe you'll just command more money at the end of the day, for whatever reason, rightly or wrongly. So anyways, I just thought it was an interesting comment worth highlighting. And Acid Boy, so the conceptual, so the open editions, Acid Boy, RGB, Ready, Give Back, open edition of, okay, so this is free, 0% royalties, and I just wanted to, so you can see, and I'll just stop that there, but you can see the work. And RGB is another conceptual artwork open edition. RGB is a conceptual artwork speaking about the big fuss around open editions. Artists and collectors are pretty divided on the subject. Some say that it's just easy money, while some are in favor of such a project for many reasons. Like they say, your art, your rules. I want to reverse the open edition mindset. Collectors can get 1 edition per wallet for free. Then they are in charge of the price and secondary sales. Open editions can be used to give back to the community, and I want to demonstrate it. So this goes up on February 3rd and for 24 hours. Max claim 1 per token. And you see it's a pretty, I think I brought it up here, so I don't want to leave it for too long in case people have issues with flashing images. But all to say, just more experimentation on the open edition side, and more back to the sophistication of the NFT scene. We see it in spades, like we see it every day. And I mean, here we go again. And again, the Duchamp Moment here, borrowing Pocobelli's video title, Is This a Duchamp Moment? And you see here, of course, the so-called fountain by Duchamp. And we've seen uczine mention the fountain. Like, the people that make art in this scene, at least that we look at, are generally pretty informed. And here is just another example. So again, I'm always back to this thing, like, if you're having a conversation with the tradition, there's something kind of, nobody can take that away from you, whatever they say. You know, there's something kind of, I don't know if irreversible, but there's something, you know, that people just can't take that away. And the market can say what it says, but you can always have your conversation and no one can take that away from you. You know, and then it becomes an issue of, well, what is sophistication? I'm talking with the tradition. What are you talking about if people are criticizing you? Like, you know, you can turn the table around. So anyways, now this work, again, look at this. Windows, you know, black, you know, these gray windows here, skull, or all sorts of stuff going on. It's part of a bigger work, actually, Analysis Paralysis. And this came out a few days ago. It went to Uyo86, who we'll look at very quickly here as well. How are we doing? 16 minutes. Okay, I'm going to run, guys. So here is the beautiful work. Has anybody? Yeah, so it went to Uyo86, Digital Overload. So cool work from Resatio. And here's another one, GM, we keep going. And this is, frankly, one other thing I wanted to say here. The positivity, as we saw in that Louis Osborne work, there is a real positivity in the NFT scene, in my opinion. And that's one of the things that makes me most bullish. I think, you know, the positivity of this scene, it's like sometimes you go out to art shows, I've literally been like, I can't wait to get back to friendly Twitter, you know, like, which is a pretty ironic statement for a lot of people. You know, like, it's a very friendly scene. And that's also, I think we called it a community of kind people, you know, 20 or 30 episodes ago. And it's something, again, that should be noted. Because, again, this isn't typical. Okay, like, yeah, scenes are friendly, but, you know, it's particularly friendly. And the GM is really a symbol of that. Here's Uyo's work. I just thought we could take a quick look. We've looked before. So this is who it went to. And kind of back to this community here, right? So this work here was sent to Uyo86, and we've looked at Uyo before. So again, artists being friends, and what's so interesting is very few of these people have probably met in real life. There are digital friends here, but I feel like I have a ton of digital friends out here, so it's totally awesome. Continuing on, vending NFTs, tezvendmachine. How amazing would an exclusive vending machine day event featuring the prolific artwork of uczine be? So maybe uczine is going to show up in the tezvendmachine. Again, that's Flexosaurus rex, I believe. So that's pretty cool. That's a smart idea, because you put like a little grail in there like that, people are going to be excited. Check this out. So uczine, again, put out an effects hash. Uccine's on fire. I mean, speaking of, prolific is the word, and you got to love it. And he's just doing his thing. I mean, again, like, he makes it look very easy. Okay, so anyways, Inefficient Ways of Independence. So this is just one of the works. And let me just bring this up here. Yeah, so here is effects hash, Inefficient Ways of Independence. So I guess there are 15 reserved. There's only 111, and they started going, let me just list the prices here, low to high. So the cheapest you'll find this for is for 225 TEZ. And I think there were already secondary sales. If we go to the activity here, let's just see, bought 200, you know. So that was the work we were just looking at here. So pretty cool. And you see it moves. So uczine one of ones were on sale for 33, and now you get them for 200 from this. And he's going under creator here. I think smartly separating his FX hash identity from his regular identity, because what happens is his page would have been overwhelmed with this generative art piece, and that would probably hurt his secondary sales. So we saw mech.txt do the same thing with mech. You know, for the generative one. I don't remember what he called it, but anyway, looks great. I think, very cool and pure uczine here. And that was with Fort Gallery NFT and the NFT Museum of South Carolina, I believe they're called. And let's just very quickly look at, I think it's of South Carolina. And anyways, so cool collaboration there. This is also something I wanted to mention, which is worth noting. And you say, well, why would you show Rare saying GM with a coffee? This gets back to a theme that I think is incredibly important, actually, as a lot of us work on iPads and the phone. And it's what I used to call, and once in a while still call, mobile art. And this is the equivalent, from a historical perspective, in my mind, and feel free to disagree, this is the equivalent of the Impressionists being able to buy tubes of paint and then go out en plein air, in fresh air, and big fresh air, and to paint. Okay, and I think we have a similar situation here. As I like to say, my studio is cafes and coffee shops, So look at this. Here's Rare, back at it. You assume he's working here and at a cafe. And it can be a really good way to work, because sometimes at home you just can drift off and stare at a wall for 10 minutes and wonder what happened. When you're in public, you kind of got to be on top of things. So I tend to work harder. It's like being in gym classes. If you got 20 other people, I'm not going to be, I'm going to work hard, because there's a tiny bit of I got to have it together here. So I'm kind of a huge fan of being able to work in coffee shops. And I just think, I've worked in subways before, and it's a wonderful thing. I was making the Peloponnesian War on my phone. I'd be in subways, cafes. You can do it in airplanes. So this portable studio, this mobile studio, again, that's why I like to call it mobile art. That's one way of kind of a perspective on it. And this is probably what he was working on. So we got the GN still in the blocking phase. And this is, armor is hard to paint, and I won't be doing this again. So look at how good this armor looks. So I just kind of wanted to highlight that, and just some really nice painting. So again, it's always worth sharing, because people see it, so just share your work. And I say it as much to me, maybe even more so than to you, dear viewer. Look at this beautiful still life here. Can you guess the artist? It is RJ. It is RJ. Look at this fantastic, simple still life with a different screensaver. And look at this. Reserve changed from 0.1 to 0.05. Okay. So this was minted just on January 27th. So a few days ago. I missed it. But I went to his page, which I'm having to do more and more, because Twitter, I'm not getting everything, and even on Object, I'm not getting everything. So anyways, I think this is a stunning work, and digital painting is what I want to call this. And what I particularly love about it are these muted colors, particularly almost like this orange, brown. Again, this mutedness against this bright, not too bright, but bright green, and on a chair. And it's almost like, it's almost like there's two things. First of all, we've kind of all probably put our laptop on a chair at some point, so it's something we all could probably relate to. But it's also like the Magritte of the coffin kind of sitting on a chair or the sofa. It's almost like that, like this is the person. Remember, he replaced, in this other work here, he replaced the people with the computers, and he was discussing that here. So very interesting work here. And I mean, $80 on Ethereum. It's a pretty nice addition to your collection, not to overhype RJ. And this actually sold to Scomra, who got it for 0.1. He put in the bid, nobody else bid, and there it went. So congratulations to both of them. GloomTube, with some more irony and our kind of modern day, shall we call it a satirist? I don't know if that, I guess Bright Future. There is some, I think we could call that at least irony, maybe sarcasm. We'll have to think about that when I'm better rested. Look at this. So, I mean, very simple in a sense. Atom bomb and a man taking a picture. GloomTube, one assumes, with a happy face, looking at his bright future. So a commentary on the situation. And look at this. Interesting. Almost the sun looks like gloom tube. Interesting mirroring there. And also you can see the rockets going up here, the ICBMs, and also the fighter jets, and cities being destroyed, and even the homeless camp here, and the McDonald's. The McDonald's. So anyways, nice work from GloomTube. Now this is a 1 of 1. Put it on sale for 500. Was it, or someone, he listed for 500 at 11:31 and sold it 3 minutes later to Greatest Tanuki for 500. So that lasted all of 3 minutes for a GloomTube 1 of 1 on Tezos. And that probably is worth, that probably amounts to $560, $580. A pretty good deal. I mean, GloomTube, right? Board Me Social Club, Paradise Lost. So more surrealism here. And again, I'm kind of back to this Magritte. And I'm sure you guys know these paintings, but let me just, first of all, the surreal scene with the odd perspective on the floor, almost the reversed perspective you see here. Instead of it getting smaller at the back, it actually gets a little bit larger over here, or maybe it's just hand-drawn, reminiscent of like medieval perspective. And here you have a painting, and the figure, who we often see in Board Me Social Club's works, coming out of the painting, and a Birkenstock with white socks, which you actually see. It's not that uncommon to see, and the great kind of interesting background. I mean, here it's architectural space in the front, but then here it's just kind of open atmosphere and sky. So lots of surrealist elements here. Let's first look at the coffin, Magritte coffin sitting, and then we'll look at, so again, remember the computer here from RJ? Okay, kind of a similar concept, and then Magritte painting window. Let's see if that shows up properly. Here it is. What is that called? Acceptieren. Yeah, so almost a similar, I guess we could say the reverse. Instead of someone coming in the painting, or coming out of the painting, in a sense, external reality is entering the painting, we might say. So a reversal, but a similar concept here. So cool work from Board Me Social Club. I missed this Kappa Sage. Again, I'm not getting all my notifications, or I'm getting so many that I just don't see them on Object. But anyways, Kappa Sage, Museum of Legends. So pretty cool, referencing his own artwork here with other kind of versions of Kappa, maybe. I mean, again, we're back to this surrealism. Like, okay, first you look at the top and you see this figure here that's just kind of looming, easy to miss, interestingly, with the eyes, and then the paint coming down, CMYK. So not just any paint, so it's kind of, smartly put together, we might say, or primary colors, this CMYK. And look at this, in the crotch area here, we get this unhappy face. I mean, some interesting experimentation here. And of course, Canada Goose has now entered the scene here with the Canada Goose jacket. So just fascinating. Museum of Legends, buy for $50. So this sold out, I'm sure, within right away. Listed at $405 January 30th and gone within 40 minutes at 10 Tezos a piece. So that's 100 Tezos in Kappa's pocket. And he also is releasing some more of these TEZO LIFE works, which again are very reminiscent of these kind of tattooed gang members that you'll often see. Wow, this sold for $6 at auction to Tejin Burkock. Shout out to Tejin, a great collector I've noticed on Object here. And yeah, so anyways, so this continues. I think this is a great series, and it's fun, and it's, 1 of 1s. Who doesn't like that? This is an edition of 15, TEZO PECOS. So maybe referring to the Green Frog, a bit more violent version. And let's just look at the prices here. Sold for $3. And so, yeah, so anyways, very interesting work from Kappa Sage. I found this in his collection. I was looking through it. I've been looking through a few people's collections just to make sure I'm on top of things. And Sir Damos, chillin', wait and see the trend. This came out in January 13th. I just thought this was an interesting work, right? The space shuttle, news bullish 2023, reference to the markets, and Sir Damos, kind of invisible man or woman. So digital painting, very interesting. Oddie Woody is being pretty odd here, as usual, sticking with the Windows. This time it's Microsoft Word. And almost what we might has a net art feel. We were discussing net art last night and post-internet art on the Spaces, which soon will be on Spotify, actually. Otherwise, it's on my Twitter. And here, it's Oddie Wood as the Virgin Mary, and this strange blocking out of the faces. Almost a John Baldessari feel, but not quite. But anyways, just a bizarro painting from Oddie Woody. Buy for 4 and 8 left. The Failed Artist, one of my favorite series here, and this appears to be the Failed Artist here. I think I think I recognize him, and he seems to be in a gallery where things are going on with KFC and Mickey Mouse praying. So anyways, more mayhem and interesting. Private view, faith, hope, and charity. I'm worth $1 million in prizes. Strictly shamanic business every time. So a little bit more of a mysterious one. Rustic Digital Art, Are You Experienced? Pretty cool work. Just a nice, I assume this is a GIF. What else could this be? This is a GIF, edition of 50, and I think sold out. Let's just look at the owners here. Yeah, so nice work from Rustic. Running through Dan Control, just kind of reusing elements from his repertoire and continuing this kind of recycling of previous paintings, which I actually find quite interesting in this kind of odd, challenging sunset, I'd almost call it. So just kind of weird, actually, in a good way always. And these strange cones and everything. So just kind of interesting in passing. Let Go Around from the box They Are Born, Dan Control, edition of 30. Did this sell out? Almost sold out. There are 3 left on primary. And Rocano, another gradient artist. So things seem to be turning around for Rocano, because remember, just a couple of days ago, you can't stop dreaming. So that's sounding good, because don't forget R.I.P. Rocano from a few days ago. If you see him, call 911, Exhibition 0. So that was like quite hilarious work. But yeah, hang in there, Rocano. Don't get too down. That is part of the process. So glad things seem to be looking up. I found this in a couple of people's collections. I think Sabato maybe tweeted this, and mech.txt was in his collection. Mu-G, and I thought this was a pretty striking work. Kind of has the feel of Retro Tools, doesn't it? Like those gradients that are kind of recycled or cycling through the image. Reminds me of the drawing period, or the drawing exercises by Sabato, those same kind of gradients. Totally in his own style and different feel completely. But just kind of interesting work here. Prismatic City, buy for 16, so the market liked it too. I am just very curious quickly for Tezos on primary. Pretty cool work. I mean, totally original, if you ask me. A couple of works by LB that I missed as well. And I don't think there's volume here. There is not. So just kind of interesting. Glitch artist LB releasing on ETH. Okay. And just kind of like a heaven scene with maybe that's a St. Peter's reference there. St. Peter's Gate, maybe? I don't know. And some eyes, a mysterious work, looking for answers. This is from a collection called Dream Station. And look at this strange work here. Again, I would call this quite challenging, is how I like to refer to this. Like, I mean, almost blurred out pixels and, someone, saying to be quiet through the door, and these birds that are mirroring each other. Pretty weird, is what I say. I mean, I'm bullish on the experimentation over here, though. Again, that's something that, it builds credibility in my universe, where this isn't just, making nice pictures. This is a sophisticated scene, okay, is what this tells me. Because, I mean, this is challenging work. And again, you don't have to love it. You just have to kind of integrate it and just go interesting. And you go, it's thoughtful. This is what I'm getting at here. This is thoughtful work. It's a secret. And it's also on ETH by LB. So just interesting work. Also glitch artist Eitzo, who we've been profiling a lot because of these beautiful works here. I love the future chair. We're back to the space age 70s in my world. And This looks great. So this was a 1 of 1. And again, there's just so much to feed on with TEZO's work. What I love about it is how it takes the glitch, like these TV textures and everything, and it just zeroes in on the aesthetic beauty of those things. And even here, the shadow, but it still moves a little bit. This warm gray in the background. So 1 of 1. Let's see how much I bet it was a steal. It's probably like 50 Tezos for this beautiful work. It was 150. So good job, TEZO. Eli Trader, who is also moving around a lot here. Let's just quickly look at Eli Trader. May the force be with you. Because I think he was betting on in that Gloomtube auction too. So he's buying a ton of work here. Yeah, he's on a rampage, and 31 pages. And yeah, so anyways, cool. It's great to see collectors picking up some work from John. January 30th, 2023. Anyways, I'm going to get off track here. Here's a new work from John, who I need to pay more attention to here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, anyways, we'll come back to John. Look at this great series here. We'll come back to John. Anyways, more TEZO here, Future Couch. So again, extremely rich, and that is Future Couch number 3. Future Shelf. I feel like this is the IKEA, or I guess it's your classic bookshelf here. And it kind of looks like the IKEA bookshelf that many of us have had, but who knows? Future Shelf 1 buy for 7, edition of 40, and a Future Coffee Table. I imagine these are more challenging. These works with not as much surface, to me, look like they'd be more challenging. Just do a quick refresh here, see if this loads up. Otherwise, we will move on. We've shown tons of TEZO here. Here we go. So, I was saying, kind of a challenging work here, but then I think he did pretty well, actually. You know, this would be hard to do, but look at this beautiful glitch here. Anyways, Future Coffee Table 2, continuing to love it. The editions are getting higher there, too. A great work. I almost started with this. Spogelsmaskinen, Peripheral Vision Loss. Check this out. I mean, typically great from Spogelsmaskinen, using a lot of retro tech, kind of pixel art, low resolution, as we'll see. Interesting, almost reduces it to the wireframe, which to me is reminiscent of kind of modernist artists leaving the trail, where you can see how the painting is made, which creates its own aesthetic. Is that what we see going on here? It looks like it to me, you know. So anyway, very cool work. Buy for 25, edition of 100. So, and quite a few of these have sold. There's only 28 left. And this is also what I want to point out here. 256 by 256. So super small image. I mean, that's the size of a Google ad. It's smaller. By 2, and this is the second time I've seen this by 2. I don't know what that means. If anybody knows what the by 2 means, because I don't see any depth here. I see a screen, but maybe this refers to a frame or something. I don't know. So interesting. Running through here, Datura, Red Jasper. So continuing with the interesting kind of glitch abstract, you know, as we talk about going through the categories here. And that went for 42, a 1 of 1. So that's a pretty good price. And continuing on, Paradox number 1, Endless Construction and Deconstruction leading inevitably to a contradictory state, edition of 15, buy for 7. I think Ile picked up one of these as well. So just cool work from Datura. And Hagluk with another kind of architectural work. And just, I wanted to highlight just he's doing these innovations. I think it's a he, but I'm not sure. And it's interesting to just see a simple concept, you might say, these architectural works, and then just doing variations on it. And here you see some dripping and just kind of a grid drawn on the walls here. Buy for 3, edition of 20. Native Ed, Knowledge Overload, Terminal, Hacked, Reset Connection, or Proceed Manually. As we were saying, hacking into the zeitgeist here, Native Ed, and interesting, the face is kind of taken off and is being held, and then we see the information in the background. Kind of reminiscent obliquely to RJ and this idea that we are becoming more and more identified with our digital lives and our machinery. One could argue that's kind of what's going on here on one level. Afterthought by Sad Girl. So just some more beautiful, anime glitch from Sad Girl, edition of 11. And I'm not sure if this has sold. There are just offers. Yeah, Sad Girl has a pretty dedicated fan base. FrancoiseGamma, buy for 3, edition of 30. And another play on the body, people in conversation, looking kind of sympathetically at each other, boiling down the emotion to just like outlines here, which is pretty amazing, pretty interesting and amazing. Conversation CRU, a couple by Tom Bombadiluss, Cozy Evening. So again, we're kind of back to this 1940s kind of pulp, almost detective pulp imagery that we see with Tom Bombadiluss. And then so an interesting, simple kind of combination. Take the 8-bit game, style, pixel art style, and then put it onto 1940s pulp imagery is one way of looking at this. And here, retrospection, again, kind of has that like retro sci-fi. Like you could almost imagine this is taken from a sci-fi pulp in the 40s. Who knows? I don't know where his sources are or if it's all coming out of his mind. This is pretty cool too. Almost like a medical machine, but it's like, flashing colors here. So continuing on, I missed this too, Our Milk, with a collaboration with Tom Bombadiluss. So interesting, kind of glitched out here. And the figure in the middle there. Continuing on, Edmarola, how are we doing? 41 minutes, we got to run. Edmarola with some more experimental pixel art here. Looks like a monster. I mean, again, look at the experimentation here. We see the dithering and then kind of like fuzzed out, blurred out a little bit. And then the colors and this strange monster. Not worrying too much about the naturalism here, which is typical for Edmarola. La Crea, which I don't know what that means. Maybe that's a monster. Kind of looks like one. Floor Sweeper, more experimentation here. And I think we just saw this in Eli Trader's wallet too. So what I like too is that's how cool this community is it buys into the experimentation and encourages and rewards experimentation. Because again, you show this to someone on the street, they might not be sure what to make of it. But with our kind of, once we've been studying Edmarola for a while now, we go, oh, interesting experiment from Ed, floor sweeper, trying out new things. So interesting. That was a 1 of 1. Let's just quickly look at if that sold. Eli Trader. Okay, so it was a 1 of 1, of course. 55 Tezos. Not a bad price for a 1 of 1 by Ed. Some cool works by Teenage Wolf. And I thought I brought up, but I must have forgot, the Wesley Willis. Yeah, so I left some comments in the Wesley Willis. I guess that's Little Cake's profile is of Wesley Willis, and we're discussing Wesley Willis, Rock and Roll McDonald's. Anyway, shout out to Little Cakes and Hasdrubal Waffle, now known as Teenage Wolf. Enjoying that conversation. And yeah, so anyways, another interesting picture seems to be made, I'm guessing, I don't know, with Mario paint and these wonderful textures. And this looks like it's, maybe a kid from the Addams Family. I have no idea. So probably a pop culture reference. And Teenage Wolf, Neat 101, probably another, pop culture reference. And again, this kind of experimentation in the background, big juicy pixels, and this textured, dynamic portrait here. So, once you start getting these processes together, you can almost do no wrong. That's the beautiful thing about getting good, I call them process machines, getting a good process machine going where you go, okay, the concept is I do some line art with Mario and then put something in the background. You can just do it endlessly, It's like back to Warhol. And continuing on, Cappen's Gift Shop and Margarita. So a really nice one, I thought. This went 1 of 1. I picked this up, the chocolate cupcake, which I thought was quite nice. And just a cool work here. I really like the background, how it moved here too, and kind of glitches out a little bit. Continuing on. Flostitanarum just posted this, and to me this was just another example. This is of older work, but just another example where you post some nice work that you've made and people will actually want to know more. So I brought it up. I was like, is that new? No, it came out, I don't know when, but it's already sold. Let's just see the dates on this. October 17th. So don't be afraid to recycle your work is sort of the takeaway your older work. And again, I'd say that as much to myself as to anybody out there who's watching. This was interesting too. So AI is starting to bleed into our other genres here because this work seemed to fit more with this kind of illustration section that we just started with over here. But it's kind of AI. If you look at the cartoony and the surreal using AI, at the intersection of the cartoony and surreal using AI. So I think this is an AI kind of cartoon-based work or, illustrative work. So I just thought that was interesting. Who is the artist? Antonis Tsagaris. Really interesting. And here's an interesting work, Dopamine by Bonzo Heroes, and kind of has an Adelia feel to it, doesn't it? Like distantly. So interesting, but totally its own feel. It has almost like a bit of an Archie feel to it, I want to say. Classic Rubik's Cube and all that, some Japanese writing, retro tech, it's got it all. And that is for 0.28 ETH on Foundation. Again, if you're not kind of on super rare or you're just starting out is actually how I'd like to put it. If you're just starting out on the blockchain, Foundation is a wonderful option. Again, they got rid of the invite system, so anybody can go on. And I think just like we saw with Object, I think Foundation is being rewarded for their open door policy. Now, again, I don't think Superware necessarily should change. They've already kind of built a brand around what they're doing there, so I'm not suggesting that they change. But I'm just saying you can see the benefits of the open platform because, if you have some nice work, you don't need to ask anybody for anything. You can just get started, go on Foundation, and start selling, Here's another interesting kind of illustrator, Gergy, and I just thought this was an interesting illustration. So this is very cheap, 0.05. And here's some other works. So again, here's a new artist. They show up on Foundation. And yeah, they're putting their work for sale. So good for them. Contemporary urban and digital artist. How are we doing here? Continuing on, Flora Marquez adding some color. So I just wanted to notice that. And just another super cool one of one here as she continues her daily release here. And I saw on Twitter, she is now a freelancer. So big shout out and congrats to Flora for making that move and hopefully selling your art here on a daily basis. Let's just see what this went for, is helping you. Again, it's kind of like around, if you can consistently make $150, let's say US as a freelancer, daily, or as an artist, you start to get somewhere. So she's raised her prices, but they're still cheap, 15 Tezos. Padrino, I had to add this, Untitled Self-Portrait #1. So Padrino has made the leap from collector to artist, and we applaud and welcome that here. And so with the self-portrait, looking at a retro computer here, and interestingly, a dinosaur and some guy riding a dinosaur bones on the screen. So that's really cool. So editions of 37, sold out. Now you have to buy it for 17 on secondary. So looking forward to seeing more of that. And there it is. Damn, sold out means everything, especially to all those friends, new and old, who collected and inspired me to make art. I'm kind of back to this friendly, kind community. And, that's cool. And so Padrino gets a really nice start here. And this is great. So looking forward to seeing more. Very quickly here, listen to this track from House of the Model. Pretty cool. Like, that is some hardcore techno there. So the party, the Tezos Party, in my mind, in my imagination, that House of the Model is going to do the music for, I guess we got some, sounds like it's going to be an all-night party from the sounds of that track. Very impressive. Buy for 99 cents, 10,000. So just waiting for the DJ gear on Tezos here, and continuing on, we got to run AI and painting, it seems. Gordy Prostov, AI artist. Maybe, I don't know if this is pure AI or AI with painting, but it looks interesting and different, doesn't it? So worth noting here. Nice work, Gordy. And continuing on, Strange Thing sold his work. We don't know for how much, but I think this is Punk7635. I thought that was Artie Hands it went to, but maybe that's the same person. I'm not sure. I think that is the same person. So we don't know for how much, but it was sold. So congratulations to both of them. It's a super cool work. The color, for me, that's Strange Thing's palette, and I'm totally impressed at how he does that. How he keeps a consistent color palette, seemingly. Charles AI is releasing a new it's kind of related to the old series, but seems to be a new direction here. A different kind of work. So here is kind of an architect with an AI distortion, or an artist, perhaps. And here you see some kind of pixelated digitalia, or a mask of some kind, pixelated mask. So just kind of interesting. And continuing on, Oblique Oblivion with a beautiful sky here, and just more interesting experimentation. These kind of fantastical cities here. And EdgeQ with a 1 of 1. Kendrick D. Lamar by Leonardo da Vinci. So continuing with and look at the hands and the 5 fingers here, and then the thumb. So just very interesting. I picked up a work, and EdgeQ is awesome. I picked up a work here. This one here, nobody had bought it. There was an edition of 5. I thought it was a pretty nice AI work. I picked this up, and then he burned the other 4. So sometimes you get rewarded for buying works that nobody else is buying. And again, I thought it was pretty nice. Ile, so a big thank you to Ile. If she's made it this far in the video, Ile, thank you. And pretty cool work working on a Vanitas series called Under the Sun. I think, is the name of the series Under the Sun? Yeah, Under the Sun is maybe the name of the artist. I'm not sure. We'll have to look at this. Ile is the artist. Under the Sun is the name of the series, and Vanitas is the description. And here we go, some still lifes. And shout out to Mom, it is still lifes, not still lives. And so anyways, here are a few works by Ile from her series AI, and it's pretty cool. And interesting, like the smoke looks like glass. Even the flower looks like it's part of the glass vase here. And there's a phone, and maybe a modern cigarette like Dan Control has, or not, I'm not sure. Anyways, you can almost hear the prompts here. And a phone, lipstick, and maybe another phone. And the phone almost becomes a part of the table. So anyways, just cool work here. And here's some classic kind of iconography, flowers, a skull, and a phone. I mean, that's pretty modern. That is today, and look at how beautiful, actually, the skull is here. Nice background, too. So cell 3, and of course, another one. I wonder if this is Dali. It almost has those Dali textures that we know and love here. So very nice work from Ile. Big shout out. She's got 4. There are still some available. There are 6 left, so they're going fast. And Mr. Shapeless has just posted a couple of interesting works, and just wanted to check in with the latest. This has a real Dali feel down here. And here is another one. A beautiful sunset, I guess, with great clouds in the sky, but the clouds are almost the landscape. I guess we're looking from above, and these small figures here. So anyways, very beautiful. And here's some beautiful physical work from Jesse Makinson out of Los Angeles. So here's some physical work. And again, I think it's important that we stay on top of what's going on out there beyond digital. Again, multi-chain, multimedia out here, and I just think this is quite beautiful work. I'm not sure if we've seen this one before. What is this called? Last Week of Hoof on Bone at FrancoiseGamma LA. Come You Minx is maybe the title. So pretty cool. Look at that. I believe this is oil on canvas. And finally, a friend of mine, Ben, my good friend Ben, with his hilarious work. So there's Dreams by Fleetwood Mac on a broken iPhone screen. Pretty hilarious, and I love it, and beautiful. So he was out last night, actually. And so anyways, all hilarious. Thank you for joining me once again. And until next time, take care.